The master approaches the slave. The slave is Epictetus. The master, Epictetus, is irritated, bored, maybe both. He begins to twist Epictetus's leg in a torture device, a wooden vice that slowly tightens. Epictetus doesn't scream. He doesn't beg. He looks with unnerving calm at the man who owns him and says, with the steady voice of someone merely stating a fact, "You're going to break it." The master continues. The sound of groaning wood fills the silence. And then, a dry snap. The bone gives way. Epictetus looks at his now useless leg, then at his master, and repeats, without anger, without pain in his voice, just a serene observation. "Didn't I tell you you'd break it?" This image, this calm in the face of fracture, it's what they sold you as the Stoic ideal. Unshakable peace. The inner citadel that no external force can invade. But what happens when this peace becomes a cage? When the absence of pain becomes the absence of life? You seek this peace. You chase it in books, in podcasts, in quotes you share without understanding. You try to apply the dichotomy of control like a sacred mantra, separating what you can and can't change. You silence notifications, archive conversations, block people who disturb your tranquility. You build a digital and emotional fortress around your mind and congratulate yourself for every brick of indifference you lay. You see a tragic news story and think, "That's out of my control." You receive criticism and repeat to yourself, "Other people's opinions aren't your concern." You feel the pang of loneliness and diagnose it as an irrational attachment that needs to be eliminated. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop feeling, not just the pain. You stop feeling euphoria, passion, the raw, imperfect connection with another human being. You become a spectator of your own life, sitting in empty bleachers, applauding your own indifference. This isn't strength. It's anesthesia. And the problem with anesthesia is that it wears off. And when it wears off, the pain returns. But you no longer know how to deal with it. You wonder why the peace doesn't last. Why the fortress always has a crack. The truth. The fortress is the problem. You weren't made to live inside a vault. You were made to be the ocean with its tides, its storms, and its calm. But who's on stage, truly living, while you just watch? The Stoics spoke of the archer. The archer can control everything until the arrow leaves the bow. He controls his stance, his breath, the string's tension, his aim. But the moment that arrow flies, it's no longer his. The wind might blow, the target might move, a bird could cross its path. The good archer, they said, accepts the outcome, whatever it is, because his work is already done. He finds satisfaction in the perfect execution of his craft, not in hitting the target. It's a beautiful metaphor, but you don't live that way, do you? You shoot the arrow and spend the rest of the day chasing it, trying to correct its trajectory mid-air. You send that message and spend the next 3 hours staring at your phone, wondering why the reply hasn't come, what you said wrong, conjuring 1,000 scenarios of rejection. You ace the job interview, then spend the next 2 weeks replaying every answer, torturing yourself over what you could have said. You refuse to accept that the arrow has already landed, that the bone has already broken. What if true freedom isn't getting what you want, but wanting exactly what you already have? What if the peace you crave isn't in victory, but in complete surrender to the arrow's flight, whatever its destination? It's a cruel paradox. To have the control you desire, you first have to abandon the need to control. But even the masters of this art lived in contradiction. The stone floor is cold. A man lies on it, on his back, wearing a simple tunic, inside a villa that would cost 1,000 soldiers' wages. He possesses everything and chooses to possess nothing, if only for a single night. This man is Seneca, tutor to Emperor Nero, one of the richest and most powerful men in Rome. He isn't being punished, he's practicing. He's rehearsing poverty, exile, loss. He calls this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He dines on dry bread and water, imagining his assets confiscated, his friends betraying him, his death sentence being decreed. Years later, all of it would happen. Nero, his former pupil, would sentence him to death. And when the order came, Seneca was ready. He didn't despair. He consoled his wife and his friends. He lived the scene he'd rehearsed so many times. But here's the tension no one tells you about. Seneca preached detachment while managing fortunes. He wrote of simplicity while living in luxury. Was it hypocrisy, or was it something deeper? Perhaps he knew, better than anyone, that material wealth and peace of mind don't go hand in hand. Maybe he needed the luxury around him to constantly remind him how little it meant. He knew that peace bought with indifference is a fragile peace, a peace that shatters at the first touch of real fire. What if the solution isn't to numb yourself to the fire, but to learn to dance with it? Imagine your mind is a lake. Stoicism, in its crudest, most watered-down form, teaches you to build a glass dome over it. The goal is a perfectly smooth surface. No wind to make waves, no rain to disturb the stillness, no falling leaves, no life. The water, protected from everything, becomes stagnant, still, dead. You look at your perfect reflection in the still water and call it peace. But it's a graveyard peace. It's the peace of a vacuum-sealed room. Is this the peace you want? A perfect mirror, reflecting nothing of value. A tranquility that robs you of the ability to feel the storm, to marvel at the lightning, to drown and learn to swim. You run from pain, from anxiety, from chaos, and in the process, you run from life itself. The joy you felt when you fell in love, it came with the risk of loss, of pain. The fulfillment of building something, it came with the risk of failure. The deep connection with a friend, it came with the risk of betrayal. To try and eliminate risk is to try and eliminate the human condition itself. You're not a statue. You're an organism. And organisms need chaos to grow. The peace you should seek isn't that of a still lake. It's that of the deep ocean, which remains calm at its core, no matter how violent the storm on the surface. There's another way. A philosophy that doesn't seek peace, but power. And it comes from a man the Stoics would likely despise. This isn't Stoicism, but it completes what the Stoics left open. His name is Nietzsche, and he proposes something far more terrifying and liberating than mere acceptance. He proposes Amor Fati, the love of fate. What if, instead of enduring your fate, you loved it? Not just the victories, the sunny days, the requited loves, but the betrayal that tore you apart. The loss that brought you to your knees, the public humiliation that made you want to disappear. What if you could look at the worst moment of your life, at the ugliest scar on your soul, and say with utter sincerity, again, I know what you're thinking. This is madness. The pain you feel now, the loneliness that consumes you in the dead of night, the echo of that last conversation. How could anyone love that? Nobody's asking you to love the pain the moment it happens. That would be masochism, not philosophy. The invitation is different. It's looking back at the tapestry of your life, understanding that every thread, even the darkest, most twisted ones, was necessary to create the pattern you see today. You wouldn't be who you are without that failure. You wouldn't have the strength you have today without that fracture. Loving your fate isn't being passive. It's the most active form of existence. It's taking the rock life throws at you, and not just enduring it, like Sisyphus, but using it to build the foundation of your own castle. But how do you do that in practice when all you want to do is hide? We go back to the beginning, the master and the slave. Epictetus's leg is being twisted. When he says you're going to break it, it's not a challenge. It's not passive resignation. It's clarity. He's already made the fundamental distinction. The event, the physical pain, the leg breaking, that's happening to his body, something he ultimately doesn't control. But his mind, his ability to judge the event, his inner freedom, that's untouchable. He separated the event from the story he tells about the event. Most of us fuse the two. Getting fired isn't just getting fired. It's proof we're a failure. Rejection isn't just rejection. It's confirmation we're not worthy of love. Epictetus shows us a different path. The leg breaking is just the leg breaking. It says nothing about who he is. It doesn't diminish his worth. It doesn't steal his humanity. On the contrary, the leg breaks. The sound of bones snapping echoes in the room. Epaphroditus recoils, shocked by his slave's calm. Epictetus doesn't scream. He just watches. He isn't at peace because he feels nothing. He's at peace because he feels everything. The sharp pain, the injustice, the brutality, and chooses, even so, to be free. True Stoic peace isn't the absence of feeling. It's freedom within feeling. The leg is broken, but the man is whole.